3. We're live, Mr. Wade. Good night, Belizeans at home and abroad. My name is Leonard Brackett. I'll be your chairman for tonight on the Belizean Affairs show, show number 297. Thank you very much for those of you who are tuning in or will be tuning in with us tonight, and all those who will tune in later on at your convenience. We're glad to have your presence, spending your valuable time with us to hear what we have to offer. And being Friday, as you are mostly aware, on Friday nights we have what you call the constitutional and legal case law matters that we present. And since we have some constitutional questions and uh, legal issues going on in the country currently, we will want to address some of those in addition to other issues. I'll first of all bow my head for a second and say a short prayer, after which I'll yield to Mr. Wade for a reading and a public announcement. Thank you very much. I'll just bow my head. Divine loving Father, once again, we come before thy presence, asking that thou would accept our humble expression of gratitude and thankfulness to thee for thy mercies towards us, for having given us, first of all, the privilege of life, and secondly, the opportunity to be among our family members, friends, and loved ones in fairly good health today. We also pray that thou mayest bless our family members, our loved ones, each and every one of them, as if they were each mentioned by name and number, the knowest our hearts, our desires, even our most secret thoughts. We pray that thou mayest bless those people who are in harm's way, loving Father, who are in war, and who are in fire zones and tornado zones and uh, flooding and all manner of pestilence and problems. Please bless our country of Belize, its people and leadership. Please bless this country of the United States, its people and leadership as well, and the rest of humanity. For we ask these mercies in Jesus' name. Amen. I yield
Amen.
up them, sir.
Thank
Wade.
you. Thank you,
You're
Leonard.
welcome, sir.
It's always a pleasure to sit in a company, my brother.
Well,
Uh,
the pleasure is mine too, Mr. Wade.
yes, we have come
I'm grateful
um,
for the privilege, sir.
we have come a very, very, very long way. Um, and thanks for the steadfastness and the concern you put into your people and the country of Belize
Yes,
as a
sir.
born Belizean. Um,
Thank you, sir.
we 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 would wish that a lot more would take that liberty and you know uh, put some effort into the country and and the people and be a voice be a voice for the voiceless, be a voice for the poor and less fortunate, um, because in Belize, it seems like for me there's two sets of laws that governs this country,
Yes, sir.
which shouldn't be, but that's the way it is. One for the rich and famous and the politicians and the elected and the leaders, and one for the poor and the less fortunate people that cannot afford representation to clear them of their accusation. Again, we sit here, Leonard. I always say we are not preachers, we are not pastors, and it's not a church service, but
Yes, sir.
we do serve one God, and you know that's why we always start our program with giving Him thanks and praise. We start with a prayer and then a reading. So again, I will always say, don't get it mixed up that we are preachers and pastors and we are holding a church service now.
Yes, sir. Very much
But
so.
we do realize that there is a God, and that's the God that we serve, Leonard, right? And again, we welcome our viewers, both at home and abroad, that view us and listen to us on their own time. I want to thank you. Thank you for your continuous support.
Amen.
Thank you very much. And I will do a reading from Mark, chapter 13, 10 to 20. It reads, and the gospel must first be proclaimed to all nations. And when they bring you to trial and deliver you over, do not be anxious beforehand what you are to say, but say whatever is given you in that hour. For it is not you who speaks, but the Holy Spirit. And brother will deliver brother over to death, and father his child, and children will rise against parents and have them put to death. And you will be hated by all for my name's sake. But the one who endures to the end will be saved. But when you see the abomination of desolation standing where he ought not to be, let the reader understand. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let the one who is on the housetop not go down, nor enter his house to take anything out. And let the one who is in the field not turn back to take his cloak. And alas, for women who are pregnant, and for those who are nursing infant in those days, pray that it may not happen in winter. For in those days there will be such tribulation as has not been seen, have not been from the beginning, for this creation that God created until now, and never will be. And if the Lord had not cut short the days, no human being would be saved. But for the sake of the elect, whom he chose, he shortened the days. And then, if anyone says to you, look, there is the Christ, or look, there he is, do not believe it. For false Christs and false prophets will arise and perform signs and wonders to lead astray, if possible, the elect. But be on guard. I have told you all things beforehand. But in those days, after that tribulation, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. That's my reading from Mark chapter 13. Uh, Leonard, it's a
Yes,
lot.
sir.
It's a lot going on in our country. some acknowledge and some turn a blind eye, deaf ear. But all is not well. All is not well. Every day you see um, the behavior, you see the revelations of the attitude of the government, the leaders, the people who you voted for to serve and protect you. You see the scandals coming out publicly from the highest name in the land, like for instance, judges,
Mm-hmm.
like for instance, ministers, like for instance, the leader of the nation, like for instance, the leader of the opposition, like for instance, all these people who are being paid by the taxpayers to do the right thing for the people and nation. But what you have on a daily basis, you see the deeds. You see some things come to light that they have done a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. We see these things coming to light publicly, and evidence in terms of for the public domain. You see the evidence for the public that is put out there. But yet you have the things that bothers me. You have sober-minded Belizean, born Belizean, who condone, in my personal view, who condone the bad actions of some of our leaders, who condone the things that they say that they're not supposed to say, who condones the activities that is being carried out by our leaders. You see them enriches themselves in the past administration, but for some reason they did not have the time, or it wasn't the right time to to start bringing out these enrichment. And for instance, lands that they have embezzled, land that they have gotten illegally, because they were minister or they are a minister, they just go and say, I want this, and they get it, and they put it aside. Some of them, my people, they get it in other people names, right? They put it in others' name, right? But you see them now gradually coming out and stepping up, and they're doing something about the illegal things that they have gotten. And when the media come to them and says, what about this and how you got that, and oh, they quickly denied. Oh, it's not them, it's this and that, and then they say, well, someone else say, well, you know what? The past administration did it, and what happened? Nothing came out of it, so it's legal for me to do the same thing, right? So that's the way they operate. You see, money's been missing from ministries, like for instance, the youths and sports, they right? You from the transport department, and
Mm-hmm.
this is just now, and I'm not talking about the past fleecing. I'm not talking about the past fleecing of the people's patrimony and the taxpayers' money. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about this one right now. And you know what's going to happen? That is going to be denied, right? And then at the end of the day, the little clerk, the little small little man or woman, they are the one that's going to hold the sticky part of that stick, right? Like what happened in immigration department, the lands department, and all other departments, right? Because 98% of the, the government institutions are corrupted, very, very corrupted, right? But in time, it will play out, Leonard, and accountability will have to be adhered to, right? Like again, I say, you see the way the police department behaves, and their attitude, and publicly, and the crimes they commit because they wear a uniform under the color, you know, of the
Of law.
law,
Yes, sir.
right? And you see, and then you see blatantly how the government minister comes out and defend, and then the commissioner of police come out and defends these kinds of heinous and brutal behavior that shouldn't have happened in the first place. And it's so sad. It's a repetitious cycle. So, and who is to be blamed? We the people. We the people, right? So, again, what's going on in the country, Leonard. We are in the village council election mode, and you already see publicly. I will not say what it is, see what's going on, and especially any other than a PUP or a UDP, any other slates that pops up. You know how they have been treated. They have been treated not with respect and dignity, that they shouldn't do what they do. They shouldn't oppose a PUP or a UDP slate when they're in power. They shouldn't do that. They are wrong for doing that, right? It's so sad, right? And that's the mindset, right? But I said, and I end by saying, one day this country will rise up, right? One day that you know the right leader will rise up, because we have over the years and we have all the wrong people, and we continue to have all the wrong people leading this country, and handling the affairs of and the patrimony of this country. They're all the wrong people. So I say, one of these days, I hope that we are here, Leonard, to see a just and the right leader that will come along and put this country back on the right track. You
Amen.
know. So on that note, Leonard, I will not say much more, but I'll pass back the show over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wade, for lucid and very important announcements and concerns. Uh, for right now, I want to get into the Constitution of Belize, Part 2, Section 10, Subsection 1, 2, and maybe others. Uh, it is sad what's going on in our country right now by virtue of quite a few of the people. Well, in this case, it's just about a couple dozen, but there are a lot more in the pipeline. And it is just sad to see that our government continues to bastardize our constitution and disrespect our constitution and use the powers of state to exercise or carry out policies of state contrary to good governance and constitutional prescripts or mandates. I'll do a little reading of the Constitution first. Most of the time, I have the habit of commenting and trying to get off a little of the steam off my chest, and then I go to the Constitution. But in this instance, or for tonight, I'm going to read a little bit of the Constitution and then make my other broader comments on what I have read, in addition to what Mr. Wade might contribute to our discussion in this regards. Being someone of substance, of experience, and who has also served as a police officer and as a BDF of personnel as well. So, without much ado, I'll just get into reading Section 10 of the Constitution, subsection 1, and it goes like this. Please listen carefully while I'm reading, because After I read it, like I said, I'm going to comment, and I would like my comment to be within context of what is it that people understand that I'm reading, and that people just don't take it for granted or think that maybe I'm just saying things that doesn't, like what would I say, I believe, when I go so. So uh, I was already told that I'm not a lawyer, so why am I indulging myself in legal matters? But with the Constitution on the chopping block right now, and most people don't know the Constitution, and the lawyers are not willing to volunteer any time to help the people learn, and the government is about to talk craziness about they were going to spend so much millions of dollars to educate the people about the Constitution because they know the people are not aware of it. They embarked on this constitutional review process with the intent to either change, modify it, or get rid of it wholesale and create a new one. And it was the getting rid of it to create a new one is where the big problems are. And so we have embarked on this platform to try and help elucidate, educate, and or inform the Belizean people as to what the Constitution contains. Because the government has not done a good enough job about it, even though they promised. The lawyers are not involved because they are not getting paid, and somebody got to do the work. So whether we are appreciated for what we are attempting to do or not, it doesn't, take a feather off our back, because we are doing the very same thing that the lawyers who are members of the bar should be doing. And therefore, when people come to me with their crocodile tears, I don't have much patience or tolerance for their craziness, because they know that we are just filling in and we are doing the best we can. And if we don't do what we are doing, then people will be that less better off. They'll be shortchanged. So let me read. The Constitution of Belize, Part 2, Section 10, Subsection 1, reads as follows. A person, or you'd say, no person or any person shall not be deprived of his freedom of movement. I'll repeat that again for emphasis. A person or persons shall not be deprived of his or her freedom of movement. That is to say, the right to move freely throughout Belize. That is from any one side of Belize to the other, from north to south, east to west. Also, the right to reside in any part of Belize, comma, the right to enter Belize, comma, the right to leave Belize, and immunity from expulsion from Belize. That is that the Constitution of Belize bestow these rights and precludes the government or any governance institution or entity, as in regards to the police and any others, from infringing or stepping on the rights or depriving people of their rights to exercise in any of these activities as described. I'll read it again, okay, for emphasis. Please pay attention. We are going through some troubling times right now, and the reason for tonight's discussion is about pointing out where the failure of our government exists and their bastardization of our constitution instead of doing what is required of them. Section 10.1 speaks as follows, or reads as follows. A person shall not be deprived of his or her freedom of movement, comma, that is to say, comma, the right to move freely throughout Belize. Very, very salient and emphatic statement. They shall not be deprived of the right to move throughout Belize or the right to reside in any part of Belize, or the right to enter Belize, the right to leave Belize, and immunity from expulsion from Belize. That is to say, Belizeans. It is not addressing individuals who are not Belizeans who cross into the border of Belize. It's addressing Belizeans, especially born Belizean and or those who are given um, citizenship or any other legal status under the laws of the country. Now, we have people who are not Belizeans who have come to our country, who have reside in Belize, and who are being treated much better than the very Belizeans who are born in Belize, or any other Belizeans that goes abroad and come home is being treated worse than people who are not born in Belize, who are enjoying the privileges that Belize accords to them just by virtue of being in Belize. Because the laws in Belize, especially when it comes to human rights, include anybody that is within the walls of the boundary of the country. And those laws are supposed to be governed according to the Constitution. Judges are supposed to rule according to those constitutional laws. Police officers are supposed to behave according to those constitutional laws because they're not above the law themselves, even as lawmen. Judges are not supposed to misbehave because neither they or anyone else is above the law or beyond reproach for violating the law. No minister, prime minister, or anybody else, for that matter of fact, is above the law. As Section 6 of the Constitution of Belize says, we are all equal under the law. And the reason why I'm reading this section, and I'll read some others as we move on, is because, as I previously stipulated in my initial comments, we have Belizeans who had come to the United States, some of them with visas, others without visas, and in so doing, some of them overstayed their time, and as a result, are then afoul of the laws of the United States. Under previous government, some of them were allowed to stay, or at least they were not prosecuted and or pressured as much to leave the country as compared to currently, whereby some are actually being picked up and being shipped out of the country. That is the prerogative of the country, the host country. You can't get vexed with the people if they don't want you in their country. The least you can do is go back to your country, and if they have to send you back, then there's no need to get all flustered and upset and whatever else not, right? You're not born here, and you're born there, you're born there. And if they don't want you here, and they want you out, and they try find a way to get you out, the least your government could do to accept you. Because you cannot be a countryless person. Or they should not be sending you to any other foreign countries to which you have no connections, no means of living or surviving, and then just put you in a concentration camp till the time to peg out. So while you may leave your country for whatever reason, and you are away from your country, when it's time for you to return to your country, whether willingly or unwillingly, or whether under duress, or however, it is not for the government, according to our constitution, it is not for the government to deny you entry into the country or to create any kind of mechanisms by which your entry back into your country is being suppressed. It is illegal for any government to do that. Or at least our government, as far as the Constitution of Belize, which is what I'm talking about. It may be applicable the same across the board for many other countries who claim to be democracies, and even in some republics. If you're a citizen of those countries, you're entitled to the basic human rights. While it may not be accorded to you by other countries, it must be afforded to you by the country of your birth. And as per our constitution, as we just read just now, it says that the government have no right or authority vested in it to deprive you as a Belizean, especially a born Belizean, and even the naturalized Belizeans. The government have no power over you or rights to exercise any policies of state or any other mechanisms to deprive you of those fundamental rights. To be in your country, to move around your country, and or to move from one end of the country to the other, to exit the country, or to return or enter back the country. Other than for the fact that they have to go through the basic process of immigration, which is naturally required because of external issues in terms of people from across borders, and also the issue of maybe if there's an emergency declared for emergency purposes, such as if there's a war going on in the country, you don't want everybody going in and out of your country and you don't know who is friend or who is enemy, especially if the people who live in your country are similar to other people's on your borderland, that you can't distinguish very much the difference between who is a citizen or not. You got to process them. So as regards to the returnees then to Belize, I want for we government and for we police officers them and for we customs people them stop acting like I need to keep the show clean and respectable. So instead of saying something out the way as I was about to do just now, I just had to hold my tongue and hope that I didn't bite it. Okay? But we have a government in place that, as far as I'm concerned, they are a bunch of rascals and scofflaws. They do not abide by our constitution. I don't know why they hate free constitution so much. Just about every law that they have made while being in office the last term and while remaining in office for this particular term, every SI, every policy that they have tried to instigate or promote has been to the detriment of the people who elect them and re-elect them. I'll just proceed with another part of this section 10. I'll read subsection 2, which says as follows. Any restrictions on a person's freedom of movement that is involved in his lawful, remember that one word, lawful detention. That is that in order for you to have a lawful detention, you must have at least be perceived to have committed a crime against the laws of the country. If there's no reasonable articulated action, then you cannot be just sat upon by a police officer, much less anyone else, to say they're going to take you into police station and they will have you sign an agreement with them to say that you have to turn around and come to visit the police station as often as they want you to come, whether it's once a week, once a month, or however. They have no right to pretend that they have any such authority over you as a citizen of the country, unless you have violated any law which then allows you to have given up your rights to not be arrested and or be harassed. You break a law, it's as good as if you had given up then. that right, because then they, as by virtue of you having broken a law or them perceiving that you have broken a law, have justifiable reasons then to put you under arrest, put you through the process, take you to a judge, and have your case adjudicated by that judge. And after that, for the judge to render a decision in regards to your guilt or innocence. But what happened currently, as of yesterday, when a plane landed in Belize with some Belizeans, the police with a bus and vehicles and went and meet the people them and escort them on their bus and took them to station. Those people should have been able to come off that plane, go through immigration, and gone home to whoever family members or friends or their own properties or wherever they want to go, any part of Belize, without any government or institutional interference with their going or coming, according to Section 1 of the Section 10, subsection 1 of the Constitution of Belize. There was no need for the government to go and pick up those people, unless in the case of, I think it was either one or two persons that came on that particular flight along with the other people then, that merited that type of attitude on the part of the government or the police officers. That is to say, those people were wanted for previous crimes that they had committed in the country. They left the country and they ran away and was abroad. Now that they're back home, the government have a right and the police officers have a right to interact with them, to put them under arrest, to take them, to put them, to process them for remand, take them to the court, or have them appear in court, depending on what kind of crime it was anyhow, because it's not every crime that they need to go under remand for. Some people can get bail, depending on the type of crime. Others may not be able to get bail, depending on the type of crime again. The bottom line is that the police have to do their work, but they have to do the correct work. It is not their work or their job to go and haul people off of a plane and classify them as criminal or relate to them or treat them as if they were criminals. Just because some other country says they don't want them in their country and they commit the crime of being in that country. That is not a criminal offense in Belize. That's a criminal offense where the people they send them from. It is the prerogative of the country of host, the country host that these people were in, to have arrested them, put them on a plane and send them back. But it is not the prerogative of our government to further alienate those people and or to bastardize our constitution by criminalizing those people. They have a right to not be bothered, and that right should be respected. They are profiling people. They are making reports at the police station on them. They are threatening them that if they don't sign agreement to come and to come and report every week, that will then constitute a violation, which it would be, but it would be a violation of an illegal law, a bastardized process of intimidation. They use the power of state to intimidate people and commit crimes against the people, as if they don't know better. They damn well know better, but they're just chancy. The Prime Minister knows that that's not supposed to be done. The Minister of Home Affairs knows that's not supposed to be done. And the Jackass Commissioner knows that that's not supposed to be done as well. But they're going to entertain that kind of stupidness and put people in a situation where, let's say, for example, if any of those individuals who signed those agreements with them when they take them to station, because they don't let them out of station before they got that agreement signed with them, if any of those individuals end up not reporting on time, they could be picked up off the street for then having been in a violation of an illegal law. And then that, according to the police department, would constitute a breach of the agreement. and a reason to then justifiably arrest them and give them a rap or a police record, which shouldn't have had to happen in the first place because those people would be exercising their legitimate constitutional right to not be bothered. The government has no powers other than if they change that in the constitution. But as of currently the constitution that we are under, because you only have one constitution at a time, they have no such power vested in them. So why the hell are they trying to pretend that they have any such power and going around and creating mayhem or create more problems for people? The people that need their time and space and opportunity to be able to navigate in and out of the country or up and down or across the country to their own heart contents. That's their constitutional rights. So long as they don't commit a crime that is violative of the present laws. But you shouldn't have to be setting them up to break illegal laws. Because then what's happening is that you as the government, or as the officers putting into effect those laws, is committing a crime under the color of law. You need to then be arrested for the crime that you are committed. But who is policing the police? And I don't see no police arresting no other police for committing crimes under the color of law. As a matter of fact, I see them covering up for each other, as our past experience have allowed us to see. Let me read quickly. Any restrictions on a person's freedom of movement that is involved in his lawful detention shall not be held to be inconsistent with or in contravention of this section. That is to say, if a person needs to be arrested, then he should be arrested. That is not a contravention of the law. It doesn't derogate from what this section 10, subsection 1 is saying. If the person has committed a crime, whether he was a returnee or deportee, as they would call it, or whether it was just an average Joe smoke on the streets, or Mary or whoever, if you're subject to being interacted legally by the law man, or you're being put under arrest for whatever justifiable reason, then you should have your day in court. But the police officers should not be interacting with anybody just in order to create a situation where that person then can be accused of disobeying a lawful order and or committing a crime. There is another section I'll read afterwards, but I'll just like to, in the interest of timeliness and code committee, to ask Mr. Wade if you have something to contribute to the thoughts as I had projected them so far from the reading of the Constitution as well as my verbal thoughts. Mr. Wade, I yield to you, sir, for your own comments.
Well, thank you there, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome, sir.
You know, in every country we have laws, you know, but I have a thing, you know, I can say as per the conversation, right? The 21 individuals that had been deported back to Belize. It's been put out there publicly. It's for entering the U.S. illegal and for overstaying their visa. And one seems to have committed a felony or crime in the U.S. That's what my understanding and public as per what went on today. Um, for me, as a former police officer, I'll say, you know, if I am patrolling and I would stop someone, like for instance, say in the West there,
Uh, Mr.
just came
Mr.
across. Mhm.
Mr. Wade,
Mhm.
on that particular point that you brought up just now about you're understanding that there's one person at least out of the group, right, that had committed a felony here in the United States.
Mhm.
More likely or not, that person would not have been sent back to Belize without having been adjudged by a court, sentenced, and served his penalty before he was shipped out back to Belize. Once he had served his penalty, he was good as anybody else who had paid their debt to society, okay, to not be mistreated because he's equal under the law, equal protection under the law. So long as you have paid your debt to society, you cannot then be mistreated for the rest of your life, unless that was a life sentence that was, he or she.
So
But
yeah.
just for my wrapping up.
Mhm.
So I'm saying the police would be justified then to approach that individual, pull him on the side, and do what they're doing to everybody else, which is wrong. Not everybody else is like that particular person. That is someone who had shown a penchant for a crime or had committed a crime. So you got to keep tabs on him. Leave the other rest of the people alone to their own constitutional freedoms. Now, if they need a ride, right, and they don't have one family where they're going to pick them up at the airport, or nobody, they can't find a way from the airport to the city, then that's a different thing. You'll give them a leave ride. They're not like you have to throw it on a red carpet for them, you know. But you have no authority or powers to mistreat them, is my point. And thank you very much. I'm sorry for interrupting you, just Mr. Wade. I just wanted to adjust that particular point that, yes, some of these people might be criminals and they need to be dealt with. And under the laws, that's the right thing to do.
Yes, I was saying that if I would meet someone and I would ask that person, I said, can I see your identification? And so I suspect that that person has just swim the river or jump the border or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have that as a law enforcement officer. You have that right to arrest that person, take him to court, and place the charge, and
For illegal entry.
go in front of a magistrate, and that magistrate will either remand that person or have him deported back to whichever country he or she comes from, right? So now let me swing back now as to the deportees. I would say that these deportees went in front of a judge, and that's the fine that they were fined. Deportation, that's in the eyes of the law. So I am of the opinion that that is what happened. So my thing is that now the individual that whatever that person had crime that person had committed in the US, I don't know what sheet he came back with, right? I don't know, but it seems that that person had committed a crime and he got to spend some time. Okay, that's well enough with me because I don't know the particulars. Whatever treaty that Belize had signed, I don't know all the line item in terms of extradition treaty. In terms of the other 20 individuals, I know in the past that you get deported. They you the police picks you up, not your family member, picks you up and take you to the police station, and then they say, well, you report here every. That's the penalty you will pay here,
Which
right?
is
Is
wrong,
that
Mr.
right?
Wade. No, sir, it's wrong.
No, no.
They have been doing it. They have
I
been
will
doing it
not.
over and
Yeah,
over, which is
I
wrong.
yet to see a law pass, right? I yet to see a law pass, right? But I am of the opinion that they're doing the right thing. I'm of the opinion. Well, for me to keep check with you, you report here every Friday or every Tuesday or anything for a peer, and that's the penalty you pay,
Uh, uh,
right?
that should be for a felony, a
So
crime, a criminal. Finally,
So, like
not
I
being a
say,
criminal or not being a felon, you know.
so I say to all, right, all my fellow Belizeans, right, that if you go to another country, try and go the right way if you can, right? If you can, I encourage you to go the right way, right? But it's the norm that you cannot. You go to the U.S. embassy, they deny you a visa. So because of the circumstances
And
in
they
this
keep and
country,
they deny you the visa, but they keep the money.
yes, because of the circumstances in this country, you see a lot of Belizean migrate out of this country, right? But you see, now with all this happening, my people, I urge the government, the government in power now, to open up their minds and do the right thing. Provide, provide for the Belizean people. Provide them jobs. Provide good wages so that Belizeans do not swim the river or go and overstay their visa, right? Because you are part and parcel of the problem, Mr. Government. If everything is well in the country, why are you going to run away from your country? That is a clear indication that it's not right in the country, right? So that is what I got to say on that. Like I say, I yet to see the law that says, well, when the U.S. deport an individual, this is the law. When the Belizean touches a Belizean soil, this is the law you got to abide on. I yet to see that. I would like to see that law. But if they are doing something illegal to people that have been deported, and subjecting them to all kinds of manner of have to go and report, find a station to go and report to, I mean, that is wrong, right? And haven't committed any crime. The only crime that they have committed that's in the US, being there without proper authorization, right? That's the only crime that, so the penalty should be there. And a Belizean returning back to his or her country of birth should should be treated like any other Belizean and should be treated fairly, right? With dignity and respect, right? So um the government need to take a serious look on that because there will be more,
A lot more.
right, from at least for the next 3 years or 4 years of this Trump administration, right? There will be a lot more. So prepare yourself, Mr. Government, right? And the right thing to do is to accept the deportees. If you could accept a terrorist,
Hmm.
so now I come back to that now, Mr. Past Minister of Mr. Courtney, right? Because you were the orchestrator of that, right? And the PUP government with open arms, a known terrorist that had spent time in the penitentiary, right? And,
Self-declared. Self-declared.
and he didn't say no qualms or qualms. Yeah, he is a terrorist, and he is in living in Belize. He was received with open arms. I
Hmm.
wonder why, given the royal treatment, given land, given home, given a house, given they're probably even paying for his gas to move around the country. For all I know, they probably have given him a vehicle. For all I know, right? For all I know, all the good things that he had gotten when he landed his feet,
Well,
touched the soil of Belize.
they gave him a settlement because
And
they are
remember, he
Mr.
might,
Chairman,
Leonard, all I'm saying, he might be getting
yeah, big money,
a,
big
a
money.
stipend.
No,
I don't know.
he got millions of dollars
Right?
settlement.
I say him. I don't say what he got. I say he might be
Yes, sir.
getting.
Yes, sir.
Right? What he had got, he had got.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm saying, as I speak,
Yes,
he
sir.
might be getting money from the taxpayers' purse for all I know, knowing these people, these ministers, this government, knowing them. So here you have they accepted a total stranger. Again, I say a terrorist, right? Didn't deny he wasn't a terrorist. And you meet him on the street somewhere, you ask him if he was, he will not gonna tell you no, he wasn't. Ask him. And accepting him with open arms. And here you have born Belizean who have maybe still have a lot of relatives here, or have their kids, their mother, their father, and everything, and have them right here. Born they are born here, and having them to come back to this kind of treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Huh? What a shame. What a shame. You see, should we be going there? No, we shouldn't be, but real is real, Leonard, and truth is truth, right? And right is right and wrong is wrong, right? So do better, this PUP administration. Do better with your people. These are the same people you go and go visit their house and ask them for your vote.
Mm-hmm.
These are the very same people. And I'm not lying, Mr. Chairman. I'm not lying. Right? These are the very same people that these politicians going to go visit their homes and say, man, please vote for me. PUP all the way, come vote for me. And if you can vote for me, you don't have to go report, right?
There will be many of them who have their own house already, Mr. Wade, and who are professionals, okay, who can bring talents and
So,
material enhancement to the country, okay, but they have not been allowed or will not be allowed because from way back in Mr. Price days, the idea was to get rid of the Creoles them and encourage them. In fact, we were even invited to leave Belize and come during Hati and other
well,
times before and after. And
yeah.
while they are migrating, while we are leaving the country, they are bringing into the country people that are giving lands and house and everything, you know, in one day, as the Prime Minister did as an example.
So, Aaron, by
Yes.
saying this there, Mr. Chairman, where is the equality? Where is the freedom that the Belizean has? And I try to show that the terrorists have more freedom in the Belizean land than the actual born Belizean. Say no more. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, sir. And I'll go and piggyback on that statement that I was making, interrupting you just now by saying that how can born Belizeans be going home to be looked down upon by Belizeans who are at home and be looked down upon as being not equal to any Belizeans, but that the migrants to them can be looked upon more favorable than born Belizeans whose patrimony is being dispossessed of them in favor of the new identity that these people are trying to create. I'm going to say this right now. A lot of those people coming back will go through a lot of hassles, a lot of hurts, a lot of pain, and some of them who are prone to violence will be involved interacting with the security forces then, when sometimes there may not need to be such a situation. But it's just the atmosphere, the sense of frustration, the sense of betrayal, the sense of being treated not equally. And that's what the system is preparing for, to marginalize these people. You know, the efforts that they should be spending on these people whose patrimony it is, because England helped us to keep that piece of property until, we became independent. And even after independence, they were around trying to help keep us, out of the hands of those who coveted that piece of property. Now our leaders are encouraging us to become friendly to the enemy, who is actually being so bellicose to us on a regular basis. Why? Because they are fearful of the enemy. So they prefer to have the enemy have their way with us, facilitate the enemy, while at the same time they're marginalizing us. There's no governance for the average black people in Belize. And some of the same black people who are not being treated right are the same one who go and sell and vote when election time for a few dollars, one plate of food and one couple of drinks. I'm not saying that everybody doing that. I'm saying enough of them do that to the point of making a difference. And then they want to be crying all the rest of the days then between elections. That's not good enough. But for right now, I want to go back to the Constitution. Thank you very much, Mr. Wade.
Just before
Yes,
you
sir.
go
Go
there,
ahead.
I would
Go
like to
ahead.
say this, that for all I know, back to the terrorists that we imported in this country, that we accepted with open, he might be getting police protection for all I know.
He is.
Right? Right? For
But
all I know. I just
no,
right? I
he
just
is.
say
That's
that.
why they keep
Right?
tab on him, because that's part of the agreement with the foreign country that we did that thing with. That we were going to keep tabs on them, and when we're
So
getting
you
paid for
see,
we're getting paid for those services, and Mr. Wade,
so you see,
if you see a face,
so you see the level of
treachery,
hypocrisy and
treachery.
treachery, right? And the level of how Belizean are being treated. Back
Hmm.
to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. So I'll take up another last point again, and I'll expand a little bit more on that, and that is that I would hope somehow or another that the Prime Minister, in this particular instance and issue, step to the plate and do what's right, and that the Minister of Police step to the plate and do what's right, and that the Commissioner and all his underlings then step to the plate and do what's right. But their past track record does not indicate that that will be the outcome. Why? Because they have a militarized perspective that everything they want to try and do now, especially under this new SOE that they just put in place, is for them to brutalize their way through the process and force compliance. When they are not complying with the requirements of the Constitution and the prescriptions of the Constitution, how can they commit a crime
uh,
to avoid crime? That doesn't wash. They are not above the law. The crime that they commit, they should have to stand judgment for and suffer the consequences of being, if found guilty, not being paid with government money, but pay out of their own pocket. And that's the solution to the problem. But we won't get there until the upper people get serious. So long as the government is going to pay settlement when the police officers they commit crime, as in the case of this one now with the SOE that just got ruled upon, where that money is going to come from to pay those damages that the court awarded, not from the ministers in pocket, not the politicians in
Mr.
pocket.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for
Go
you.
ahead, go ahead, Mr. Go
Don't
ahead,
you
Mr.
think that don't you think that it's high noon now that the Briseno administration, John the Briseno administration, the PUP administration, don't think that it's high noon that they would come to the Belizean people now and have a plebiscite and says, well, you know, um, do you want to change the constitution or add or take away? Don't you think it is time now that they come and have that for a vote for to the Belizean people? Don't you think so? And one more thing, I would like for him to come to the nation and say how many people that they had educated on our constitution of this and how many.
Well, they were claiming when that question was asked originally, or not originally, but at one point in time, that question was actually asked. And the answer was they have educated tens of thousands of people, including the kids them in school, and including the people them out in the United States who they came out, I think, once or twice to visit and didn't teach them anything, but was asking them to have to answer surveys. Sir, we're dealing with a bunch of jackals.
Yes, but my question, I would like you for you to answer that question. I don't think that the government that Briseno should come to the nation and say, well, uh, um, that ask the permission from the people that hey, do you want to either yes or no, put it for a vote,
Mr. Chairman,
and
thank you very much for the question, sir. But
because they haven't done that yet,
we're all aware of that, and they have been trying to dodge it. But the bottom line is that they should not come to the public with a plebiscite under the referendum rules, which are empowered in the Representation of the People's Act, Cap 9. Mandated, by the way. They're mandated. Even that they're trying to skedaddle about, to not have a referendum over the present changes that they want to make in the Constitution. And it's very likely that they may not even go ahead and have that referendum that is being referred to in the PCC Act, that the learned knucklehead Attorney General was saying they have two PCC. I mean, they have two referendums,
referendum, to
and they are
referendum.
referring to the PCC Act, which is not Trump, which does not trump the Constitution, by the way. Guys, whatever is going on with them and the PCC has to come into force of law, and it cannot trump the Constitution. First and foremost, we can only have one Constitution at a time. So with their effort to try and modify or eviscerate the current Constitution, the PCC Act cannot come into existence until after they get rid of the present Constitution. And to do so is to commit sedition, which is why they have been trying to avoid dealing with the issue, taking it to the plebiscite. First of all, they have not educated the people about the Constitution and what it has in there. So they have no business coming to the people to ask them questions about what is in the Constitution and what they want to take or to put in. But they know what they have in their back pocket that they want to put into the Constitution, either the present one or any new one that they can come up with.
You listen to the guy Henry Charles, right? Remember what we talked about on our program?
We did.
What they were going to do? Well, we are educated. The people is, we visit the beer, and even the diaspora. Mention about 2 times. Even the diaspora is okay with it.
You understand now why I call them jackals, right?
Okay. And like I say, it's surprising to see how born Belizean and just subscribe to these kinds of shenanigans, right? And say well, like these people are doing the right thing, and subscribe along with them, and ride along with them. So sad.
But a lot of people know what's right, what's wrong, what is the truth, what's going on, and a lot of people don't really know, Mr. Wade. That's the unfortunate part, right? Some of those who know are rolling with the program because, as far as they're concerned, it doesn't affect them, other than maybe positively that they could get a little something out of the present government by working and cooperating with it. Members of the same CCP or PCC commission, before they were constituted into the form of the PCC, I spoke with some of them and told them, when the Prime Minister was initially talking about wanting to create the Constitution Reform Commission, okay, CRC. I spoke to some of the people who wanted to get on the commission, and I was telling them what, giving them the whole rundown of what was going to be happening. They look at me and they laugh. They laugh me off. They say, "Well, how you gonna know what this man are up to, and how you gonna know what's going to happen before it happen, and how you go, I kind of, to the point of them trying to ridicule me." Now, even though a lot of them come out now, what 10 of them out of the 2021 came out and said that they are totally in disagreement with what the chairman concocted and ended up presenting to the prime minister without having completed the education campaign and or without including any of their input or actually outrightly rebuffing and rejecting their input. And the excuse for rejecting their input is to say, well, they are not the one that was supposed to have been surveyed. So therefore, even though they are Belizeans and high up into the commission, we should have given them the opportunity to be able to advocate some of these things. They are now dispensing with them and saying that, well, it was the public and the people that should have been. Are they not part of the public and the people? You see how these jackals operate? I tell you
I
so.
laugh on that one, I laugh on that one. So, Mr. Chairman, you see, they will
I
get
don't
what they
know.
want at any cost.
That's it at the
At
end of the day.
any cost. They don't care how they get there,
I'd
but
like to see
all
a,
they know that they get there. They
I'd
don't
like to see
care.
a few of them go to jail though, and I'd like to probably see a few of
Likewise
them get
here.
get hanged at Bigfoot for sedition,
Likewise here.
being made an
Likewise
example of.
here. Outrightly. Likewise here.
Or if they don't want to do it at Bridgefoot, go do it at Central Park.
I could do it in
Put,
the
you,
House of Representatives.
put on a few news on so
In
and
the
then
House.
they all feel like they're untouchable. But anyhow, let me go back to this. I'll deal back in a few minutes. Just let me read a little bit more of this thing, if you don't mind. Oh, we're getting close to the closing time. Okay. So I'm going to read some more of the some other sections, no? But in the interest of uh, because we're running short of time tonight, basically. Or I want to just reread section 10, subsection 1 again. Somehow or another, I have an interest in rereading that for those who weren't listening to us earlier when I first read it, as well as for those that might have listened but were not totally aware of what is it that the Constitution, because we are trying to do here what the government PCC group should have done, spent over $1 million and not having done their job with extra time, still haven't done their job. But their report is in, and if the prime minister decides to do like what we were saying just now, that they are trying to dodge, that is to come to the people and ask the people if they are in agreement with what the submission was, to use that as a replacement for a constitution. First and foremost, it's not properly drafted. Secondly, it doesn't have the necessary bits and pieces of proper constitution, such as the Bill of Rights, the fundamental rights. You know, they're not going to include the part that has to do with the powers of the Governor General, which are much more than the powers of the Prime Minister and Cabinet and all the rest of them. They want that out. They're not going to include anything that has to do with the head of state, other than a new head of state that they will be voting for in the new Republic of Belize. I mean, there's so much. And then they might want to change how the financial part of the Constitution relates, so that they don't find themselves afoul of the law, because they want to be exculpated from any of the criminal conduct that they're carrying on with currently as regards to malfeasance and misspending and misappropriation of funds and buying lands and $7 million dirty hole where they going to buy the other day, and being able to rip off as much Krong lands to themselves and their family members. No, these are the things that these jackals are interested in: self-enrichment. Okay, not about good governance, not about accountability. So let me just I want to read this thing again, because like I said, I have an urge to do it in the interest of at least letting people learn or understand or retain as much of it as possible. Section 10, subsection 1 reads as follows again. A person, that is to say, any person, man or woman or child, shall not be deprived of his freedom of movement. That is to say, the right to move freely between Belize or throughout Belize, the right to reside in any part of Belize, the right to enter Belize, and the right to leave Belize, and also immunity from expulsion from Belize. That is that if you're in Belize and you're a Belizean, they can expel you back across the border to Guatemala, to Mexico, or however you entered back into the country. And the only time they could expel anybody is if it's somebody who is not a Belizean that has not entered legally into the country. And even then, they have to give that person one chance to go through the process to see if maybe they try ask for asylum or whatever the situation is. Of course, if you're a Black Caribbean, don't ask for no asylum because it will not be granted to you, even though you have a right to be granted. Or even without asylum, you have a right to be present in Belize as a member of the Commonwealth. Okay? And under the Charagamas treaty and agreement among those countries and Belize. But if you're a Central American, Southern American, or any kind of other ethnicity that is not a Creole or any Black people from the Caribbean, then you are welcome with arms open, and you'll be facilitated in 1 day to get all your ID, even if it's just one false name you want to create right there and then on the spot. If it's not your original name of birth, they will create a birth paper for you or facilitate you being able to, you know, provide whatever information that you can for them to be able to work with and facilitate you. And they can't do that for the Belizean. We're born and grow there. We want a birth certificate. We want a passport. Again, because the Prime Minister said, well, Black people cross the south side, no need to go nowhere. We're not going nowhere. But they don't want them back in the country, even when they gone somewhere and want to come back. You try criminalize them. Bunch of jackals. Anyhow. So that's it. For right now, we have like another 15 minutes to go. So I'll having read that, I just want to go ahead and skip a part of what I was going to present and go down to section. Let me see what it was. Oh, no. I want to go back. I want to go to section. I think it was section. Section 8, subsection 1. No person shall be held in slavery or in servitude. No person shall be required to perform forced labor under subsection 2. And under subsection 3, it says, for the purposes of this section, the expression forced labor does not include, that is to say, any labor required in consequence of a sentence or order of a court. Now, none of these people have been adjudicated by a Belizean court found guilty of any contravention of the laws of Belize. Well, I shouldn't say none, because not too many of them, by the way. That may have been the way that I should have phrased it. Because there are going to be some who have run away from Belize after committing crimes and are out here. And if they are caught and they go back to Belize, then there's an opportunity then for the government to take them into custody and hold them on remand and try them and let them serve their time for whatever the crime that may have been. But failing that, there's no justification for them to be throwing a big blanket over all these people that are going back home to their country of origin and try and categorize them and stigmatize them and victimize them further or create unnecessary hardship, because that would be a violation of the Constitution. I implore to the Prime Minister, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, not Foreign Affairs, well, he also, with the Minister of Home Affairs and the police commissioner for them to do their job appropriately within the bounds of the Constitution and abide by the constitutional prescription requirements and stop playing the fool and pretend that they can willy-nilly make essays or laws or whatever to victimize these people further. I yield back, Mr. Chairman. I mean, Mr. Wade.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
You're so right on that. I prescribe to the same thing. I just hope that the public does not get us wrong that we condone illegal activities, illegal actions. Like I says,
Hopefully not.
yeah,
That's not what it's
it's a
about.
right way. It's a right way and a wrong way. You want to go to the U.S. Go and apply for your visa and migrate. There's a process. And if you do go there and you get caught illegally, well, there's a price to pay. So you got to, you know,
It's a risk.
that's the way it is.
It's a risk. But Mr. Wade, over here
Uh-huh.
in the United States, you get a chance to come in with a visa. Uh, you get to use that visa and convert it into a, a green card or whatever other permit you get in the meantime. And from a green card, you could get a chance to become a citizen. But a lot of people don't understand the mechanics of how that process works. And even after you get given a green card, that can be taken away from you. Even when you get citizenship, that can be revoked from you, especially if you commit any major crimes. And right now, as it is, without committing any major crimes, because they gave it to you, the present administration is pursuing the possibility of taking it away from you. That is that you wasn't born here, and even if you was born here, they're talking about even sending out people who were born here under this theory of you were supposed to be born somewhere else, and if your parents are foreigners, then you're considered to have been a birthright citizen, which now they are negating. That doesn't. The Constitution says that you're entitled to be a citizen, even under the classification of the negative derogative condition of being a birthright citizen. Okay, the Constitution says you're entitled to it, but the present administration is saying they won't uphold that part of the Constitution. They don't believe in it. They don't subscribe to it, and they do the same thing like where we government do back the Belize. Any part of the Constitution that they are in disagreement with or they don't care to be bothered with, they just ride roughshod over it. And this country here and Belize and there are so many other countries right now that are going through that process of all the leaders, then well, no, but a lot of the leaders in today's society and today's countries abroad, all over the world, they're all attempting to be autocrats. Some of them want to remain as king for life. They disregard the Constitution, they disregard the Supreme Court, they disregard the legislative bodies there, the Senate and the House of Representatives them. And like in Belize, as in the case of Mr. Briseño, he has a majority in the House of Representatives and a majority in the Senate. And he runs the executive and cabinet. And has the legislative, the judiciary body now being subjugated to his whim. So for all intents and purposes, there's no separation of powers. And there's no real democracy. Because the man the whole election without complying with the democratic requirements of the Constitution. And he's telling us plain and straight that after he done steal the election, that, well, this is how he stole it, and who can do anything about it? I'm laughing because, I mean, he just doesn't even sound correct. It's preposterous. But I yield back, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Wade. These guys are, I don't know,
Yes, like I was saying,
crazy, crazy, crazy.
it's so sad to see the the dirtiness that is going on in the U.S. in terms of this mass deportation. Um, it's so sad, um, and it seems like right now that in some state they are declaring his mandate unconstitutional. So
Yeah.
that's just, and I think all states should declare it as unconstitutional, right?
Uh,
So
can I disturb you one more time? There was a time in this country when our previous president, after the Supreme Court made a ruling, he said, let the Supreme Court implement it now. In other words, he wasn't going to implement what the Supreme Court, because he disagreed with what the Supreme Court had said, no. So he said, let them go ahead and implement themselves. They don't have no military to make it happen. I mean, that's how scofflaws some people become. I'm just saying that because of it's a historical point, no. I yield back, so I'm sorry.
through our medium here now, Leonard, Mr. Chairman, through our medium now, I say this to my diaspora, you know, though for those who are there, under the radar and hadn't for so many years, please stay under the radar because my people, my brothers and sisters, 4 years goes by just like that, right? And then someone else will come, sit,
It's only
and
three and a half left, Mr. Reid.
yes, my people, it's reality. Someone else will come, sit, and this present Trump administration will be gone, and a new system will come in. And so I say this to say, Mr. Brisenio, all the shenanigans you're doing in Belize, in this country of ours, right, called Belize, to suit your agenda, the same way you are doing that, Mr. Brisenio, when your time is up, someone else is going to come and undo all that you have done and do something that they want to do. So they will undo what you have done to this country.
I'd hope that they take back some of the riches and material stuff that they have created unto themselves and family members.
I
That's
just
what I'd
hope
like to
and
see happen.
yeah, I just
And
hope and
send
pray
someone in a
that
jail.
exactly. I just hope and pray that whatever wrong that you have committed in this country against the people and nation, past and present, whatever wrong, I'm not talking about the right things, whatever wrong that you have done, that at some point in time, and I say this to Mr. Trump too, the president of the US, that whatever wrong you have done to the people, our nation, that at some point in time they will hold you accountable, right? And the same thing I say to Johnny Brisenio and past and present and all your minions. The wrongs that you have done in this country, remember, you will not sit there for the rest of your life. You all will not sit there for the rest of your life. So someone will come and they will check those books, Mr. Man, and say, you know what? You got to bring it back. And then they will say, I'll take you to court. And they will put you under the same treatment that you had done to others. And you will pay the ultimate price, Mr. Man. Someone will come and do that. I've always said, I hope that someone would, you know, step up, do the right thing, and bring this country back to where it belongs and retrieve all the wealth that was stolen from the nation and people, right? From past and present rulers, leaders that calls on themselves kings and queens and untouchable. All those things that you have taken illegally, I just hope and pray that one day you will have to return them. Might not be you because you might be dead and gone, but maybe your grandkids or your great great grand or whatever that has possession of these things that does not belong to them, that someone will return it back to the country and its people, because there are lots of you evildoers, lots of you evildoers that have done harm, harm to a lot of Belizeans, born Belizeans, and done
Mm-hmm.
a lot of harm. When you, those of you that who have done these things, I hope that one day you sit in your on your bed before you take your last breath, or sit in a wheelchair or somewhere, and remember the evil things that you have done, right? The evil numbers that you have put on the books, and the evil things that you have done to innocent people. And I just hope and pray that you cross that day, because there are lots of things, Mr. Chairman, that I see done to a lot of my people that is so not right.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Just because they are black, poor, and has nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Black, poor, and has nothing.
And
Right?
then chance them because they can't afford to get one lawyer to defend
Yes.
themselves.
I have seen some horrific things happen to these poor people. Right? And they were born black. They were born that way. Right? So what can they do? Right? They were born that way. And they
Mm-hmm.
were born poor. What can they do? And then the system keeps them poor, because that's where they profit. That's where the two party system profit. They profit on the poor and less fortunate.
Mm-hmm.
Keep them poor and they will keep us rich. Keep them poor and they will keep us in power. Keep
Mm-hmm.
them poor. That is exactly what is going. And so sadly, Mr. Chairman, before I pass it back over to you,
Yes, sir.
these past leaders, their sons and daughters, learn from them, and they
Mm-hmm.
sit in the seat and they does the exact same things that their father had done to the people.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly the same thing. They don't say, well, like, let's change the narrative a little bit. They don't say that. No, because this is the way my father did it, and this is the way that kept us in power and rich, and keep us in society. So we can't divert from that. So let's keep them the way my father had kept them. So sad. Back to you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you
Thank you very much, too, Mr.
for
Yeah.
your steadfastness, and thank you for a nice program you present tonight. And I hope that our viewers and listeners, Mr. Chairman, take away something and see what we talk about, and see where our interest is at, and see the things that we talk about, right?
Uh,
And I thank you. Go
Mr.
ahead.
Wade, thank you very much again, sir. It's very gracious of you. I'm going to read a small little thing here before we close off. But before we go all together, I'd like if you could just keep an eye on a couple of the comments them also, and then when I finish with this, then you could just read them out before we close, no? Thank you very
Okay.
much, sir. I'll go ahead and read section 6 of the Constitution of Belize. Again, our endeavor is to try and educate you, the people. We're not trying to educate no lawyers here on the show or any judges or any of the ministers them, because they understand their assignment. They don't care what's good, right, wrong, or bad. They understand their assignment, and whatever Mr. Briceño say or Mr. Briceño want, they don't object, and they are likely to try and support him in achieving it. But let me go ahead and read part 2, section 6, subsection 1 of the Constitution of Belize, which reads as follows: All persons are equal before the law and are equal, are entitled without any discrimination to the equal protection of the law. So, Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. Foreign Affairs Minister, Mr. Minister of Home Affairs, Mr. Commissioner, and all others involved with this process, stop violating people's rights, afford people equal protection under the law, and stop being scofflaw, because that's not your job. And there's no need for you to be acting in that kind of manner. Stop get giddy with power, abuse those powers against people who will pay for your salary, to make you have a job. So you should be grateful to have that job. Don't come with no power, play games and talk craziness about how much powers the police have, the different kind of services they are capable of doing, and the BDF supporting them, and all the other rest of shenanigans, because our security systems in our country has not been afforded proper equipment, supplies, and the ability to be able to fight any war against any of we neighbors them. We're too small for that. So those security systems are only in place to aid and abet the government's suppressing and oppressing the local population. And they do so even though they know they're not supposed to be doing so, and there's no justification for them to do so. And it's all just a matter of trying to intimidate the population into submission to allow them to run roughshod and do what they want with people. Those people who are coming home, you don't have to put on no red carpet for them, but you don't have no right and no proper authority under the legal system, because we are a country of laws, for you to be trying to step on them and abuse them or take away their rights. You could read the Constitution just like how I read it, and I'm quite certain that all of you, including the commissioner who has a doctorate, should be able to read and understand or comprehend what the Constitution is talking about. You don't all have to be lawyers. You're well-educated people, but you're a bunch of chancy mafias, only interested in being kleptocrats, stealing the resources of the country, appropriating them to yourself and your friends. As if that is not bad enough, you turn around and take the security systems and run roughshod over people and classify people and turn around and implement bogus and illegal SOEs when there's no need for an SOE in the first place. And under that SOE, you hide your hands and commit crimes against people under the color of law. Enough of that. Get back to doing what is right. Good night, Belizeans at home and abroad. And thank you again, Mr. Wade, for
Thank you.
helping to present such a wonderful program tonight. God
Thank
bless
you.
you and
Thank
the
you,
rest of
sir.
the family. So we're 1:38 right now, so let's close it off. Looking forward to Monday, to have a nice program on Monday, because uh, if if I end up being involved with the Monday's program, very likely again it's gonna be about the Constitution, but it's gonna be more about the particular report that was brought to the Prime Minister and the effort attempted to use the people as sovereign citizens to commit sedition on behalf of the politicians then. And that shouldn't have to happen or shouldn't be tolerated. So more likely than not, Monday, we will probably take up some of those issues. Good night and God bless. Bye.